Hello everyone. Today is our market update with me and Benjamin. I'm going to invite him to add him to the call. I don't know if you guys saw my live video yesterday afternoon, but we are doing a food drive for the Puyallup Food Bank, and Thursday will be all over different, hold on, let me bring Ben on, areas in Pierce County, from Puyallup to Eatonville to Yelm to Edgewood, up on the hill in Puyallup, downtown Puyallup, and collecting donations for the Puyallup Food Bank. Hello, babe. And we are
Hello.
looking for peanut butter, mac and cheese, ramen, soup, and dried pasta. So that is something that they're in desperate needs of. And Red Day is Thursday, which is our annual Go Paint the Town Red Day. And we go give in the community. All Keller Williams shuts down worldwide. And we are there to help and give back. So my team is doing a food drive for the Puyallup Food Bank, and then we have other people at Habitat for Humanity. Nope, that's not it. Yes, yep, building houses. We have multi-service center in Federal Way. We have a couple other things that are all over, and our Puyallup office is also collecting food donations. They're just collecting more stuff, different things than what we are. So very exciting. So we're going to do our market update this week. I just went over these numbers with our agents in our office for Pierce and King County. The overall thing that is up in both is new listings. So inventory definitely has increased in both counties, in residential, and but it's still a seller's market. So even though inventory has increased, we are still seeing that the sellers are favorable because we're still under a 2 months inventory supply. Anything that's really under a 4 months inventory supply is still a seller's market. So I think we're maybe the expectations change is because, in previous, during COVID, seller's market was like, oh, a day on the market. Sometimes you couldn't get the sign in, you coughed and you had 10 offers. That's not the case anymore. So days on market are still, 30, 45 in some areas. What we're really finding though is if you're priced right for the condition of your home, it will go. Even if you're 5,000 overpriced, it's not going to go. Buyers they don't want to put in a lower offer. They don't want to fight with negotiations. If you are truly priced right, they will be offering on your home quickly. So just something to think about, because interest rates are still where they're at, and this is going to be pretty normal. They don't want to walk into a lot of work. And if it does need work, then they want the price to be what it is for that.
Makes sense.
And that's fair. So when you're listening with our team, we have vendors. You would be surprised what a fresh coat of interior paint can do, making sure that the landscaping looks great, that the home is clean. And everyone has a different preference of what clean is. So don't take offense if we're like, man, this place still needs to be cleaned. It's just different. So, and show ready. So there's a lot of different things that we can help uh, materialize or help credit for some of those things to get paid out of closing. There's a lot of different options.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome. So making sure, which also means that's on the sell side. On the buy side, because there is and are more homes, this is a good opportunity for them to jump in and take advantage of some equity gain.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options out there, and you always say, it's, you don't wait to buy, you buy and wait. Because that's really where that is, if you're thinking you need to save up for closing costs or your down payment or all of those things, it might be worth having a conversation now about those to see if you qualify for the zero down program, or maybe some sellers will pay your closing costs. It just appreciation is still happening. Even if home prices go down in certain areas, it's just an adjustment. It's not that the market is going down. So still some agents and some sellers aren't educated in pricing homes properly. So don't assume that, when you start to see that, the market's crashing. It's not. Some areas just need some adjustment because of lack of education, and some just need an adjustment because maybe some things have changed. But
Yeah.
you're still looking at an overall minimum 4% appreciation year
Yeah.
over year on the low end. So you're not going to gain 4% in your money to save that in a year.
So buying a home is still an amazing investment.
The best investment.
I agree. I heard the best analogy on that. I don't remember who said it, but this was a few years ago. Is homes in general, the value increase, the equity that they gain is like being on a freeway. And in different times, we're going 150 miles an hour on the freeway.
Okay.
So maybe, depending on the time frames. And then when you slow down from like 100 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour, you feel like you're almost going backwards, but you're
Mhm.
still moving forward on that freeway. That's kind of how the housing market is just because homes may be inflated by 20% in this area, but now are back down to normal 4%. It kind of looks like it went negative, which it's not. It's still moving
Yep.
forward.
That's a really good point. And it feels like Tori and I were talking in the meeting today that, when you have an increase of inventory from 1.2 months, which means if no other homes hit on the market, we would have about 1.2 months of inventory
Mhm.
supply, and it moved up to 2 in King County. And that point 0.8 difference can
Huge,
feel traumatic. Like,
huge,
so you're
huge.
just like freak out mode. Just like when days on market go from 20 to 30, right? It's like all those things, because for the last 5 years, the real estate market has really been 100 miles an hour. And now that we're still going 70, honestly, right? And really looking at those micro markets, the hard part is that when you look at national news, it's, so much different than Washington. And so making sure that you're not comparing that situation to our situation, because we have a lot of relocations, we have a lot of job opportunities, we
Yeah,
have,
huge.
like our area is so different compared to most because it's stable. Like our economic structure is really stable here. So, and there is a lot. I mean, if you're moving from King County to Pierce County, lots of opportunity right now. If you're moving from Pierce County to King County, there, you're going to make it, maybe not make it up on one end or the other, but it's still an opportunity, but you just may have to get in some different areas. So
Agreed.
I just think, like, right now, if you're thinking like, oh, I'm just going to wait to sell my house because I want to gain that extra 4% this year, or maybe it'll go up 5, know that you're going to also pay that when you buy. And it may make sense on your $500,000 home now to sell it so that you can get into that $800,000 home and gain on that. So it's a numbers game, and having someone that doesn't have an emotional interest into what that looks like would be huge. So that's why you hire an expert to talk through all that data.
Agreed.
Hey, babe, what you got for us?
The mortgage myth of today, and it ties into the rest of the conversation, is buying a home with student loan
Mhm.
debt is impossible. And in the past, that is not true. If you are in deferment or forbearance or so many different, we've had this last, 4 years of student loan debt that really hasn't been collected on and kind of just sat there. You didn't really need to do much. They're not reporting on your credit. You don't really have to have the account to pay, or if you don't, it's real easy to get that done. And the best way to qualify for a mortgage with student loan debt is to have what's called an income-based repayment. That's something you should definitely reach out to either us or reach out to your student loan debt, whoever that debtor is, and kind of chat with them about creating that plan for you based on what you can afford per month. Which brings me into the probably, I would say it's huge news, in my opinion. May 5th, yesterday, student loan debt is now able to be collected on and sent to collections. What that means is basically since 2020, 43 million people who owe money didn't make regular payments, is what they're saying here online.
And it couldn't affect your credit. That was another huge
Correct.
thing.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now that debt has grown to over $1.6 trillion of student loan debt, which is absolutely mind-boggling, that amount of number. What that means is right now, all borrowers that have been in default have received an email from the Office of Federal Student Aid alerting them of these changes that just happened. Highlights are the Education Department will be using what's called the Treasury Department to offset the program to collect any debt by withholding, this is huge, by withholding payments through tax refunds, salaries, so they can garnish your wages, and I'll go into that in a second, and benefits like Social Security. So if you have had this and you're getting Social Security benefits, that can be basically garnished. Now, it is only garnished up to, they can only withhold 15% of a worker's disposable pay. So how do they factor that in? There's no, I didn't see any guidelines online yet. I'm sure this will be just rolling out in the future. This just came out yesterday. But, you know, what can you do? You know, this is huge information. If you're pre-approved and you have, you know, $200,000 of student debt and you kind of not worried about it because you have so much time to pay and the rates are really good, and now you're in default and they're going to start collecting, that can affect your credit, that can affect your garnished wages, that can affect what you qualify for and how mortgages like VA, FHA, and conventional can qualify you based on the percentages of what that counts. So here is what you can do. The first thing I would do is, if you didn't get that email from the student aid, the office, I would reach out to your company who has your student loan debt and find out what is your current plan. Review that current plan and know that if you had a payment of $40 or $100 or $500, make sure you start doing that again so you're current, because the last thing you want is this to affect a collection or start garnishing your wages. Second is find out how to set up a new plan. If that payment is way too high, which it probably is, that's why we aren't paying it. If it's way too high, and you know, with the economy, inflation, and everything going on, ask how to set up a new payment. That may be something like an income-based repayment option. That is the best option for qualifying for a loan. But lastly, you know, if it's too much and they will not work with you, which I've heard basically what I'm reading online and where I'm hearing from other folks, that may happen in the near future, give us a call, because we have tons of equity and there is, you know, in homes these days. And if you have a ton of student loans, this may be the time to combine that debt to be able to save and kind of give you monthly relief.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So if they don't have a payment plan set up, we talked about this yesterday, how do you calculate what that payment would look like, and how does that affect their
Every
pre-approval?
loan program has a different factor. Some are 5%, some are 1%, some depending on what you qualify for. So if you currently don't have anything set up, the mortgage company is going to basically count it as monthly debt based on what program you choose. So reach out to your mortgage person, give us a call if you're already pre-approved and they didn't count it. It may be counted now, and that may take your pre-approval from 800 back down to 600. Now that's why income-based payment is it's IBR is the key, because if you truly can only afford $100 on this every month based on your current debt load, then you prove that, and then they will drop that payment down, and then we would factor that as the payment moving forward to qualify for your home, versus us just attaching a 1 or 5% amount per month, which can be pretty huge. You know, that could be $800-900 a month or more, depending on how much you owe.
Right. Okay. That's good
Yep.
information to share.
Yeah. So this could be huge go over the next, you know, 6 months to a year, because literally the last 4 years, we haven't been attacking the student debt, and we haven't really had to count it, and we haven't really had to, it hasn't really affected us. And with this change, it most likely will affect all of us in the future that do have it.
Yeah.
Attack it early.
Yep. I agree. And you may not even have access to that email anymore, and the government's not going to care about that.
Nope.
They're just going to say, sorry, you sent it. This is what we have on file. It's your responsibility. So making sure that you know who your servicer is to, and you can call the college that you went to. Maybe they can take a look at it. It probably is going to take a little bit of work and digging, but be persistent and stay on hold and do what you need to do, just for your future. Even if you're not looking to buy or sell right now, I just think it's like the more you can take control over the situation is better, instead of allowing the government to come after you. Because I don't know about you, but 15%, if that's what they end up taking out of your income, is
Woo.
like life changing.
And
Like that could really hurt a lot of people. So,
agreed. And they just want to make sure the 1.6 trillion that's being reported is accounted for, and they're moving forward towards some kind of repayment, right? Another suggestion that I would do is, if you don't know what let's say you can't find that, you don't have your old statements, they've stopped sending you stuff, you don't know who it's with, Nelnet or this or whatever, you can do a free credit report annually. And every consumer can do that by going to annualreport.com or just going to the credit bureaus and seeing exactly what's on there. They will give you a report and a breakdown and give you phone numbers and account numbers of what's reporting on your credit. So if they are reporting you late and you know nothing about it, or they are reporting in there that you owe more than what you should, or you have a letter, there also sometimes are mistakes. Don't let it go that far. Take care of it early, inspect what you expect, and get out there and make sure you're ahead of this, so that when you do want to buy a home now or in the future and take advantage of wealth building, you're proactive in your future.
so I have a question about
Yeah.
that, because it hasn't been reporting on credit for the last 4 years or so. Would there be a way to look at like debt owed if it's not being
So
reported from
it's being
previous?
reported. So they are showing what is owed. And
Okay,
times, if the balance started at 20 and it's at 28,000 because it's in deferment or it's in forbearance, it wasn't affecting the
got it.
score.
Okay, so it was still reported, but it wasn't affect, kind of like some medical
Yep,
bills before they
agreed.
go to collections. Okay.
Correct. So how it's going to be reported moving forward, I don't have any like FHA conventional guidelines on that right now. I could probably go get that and take that below, but I do believe that's going to change in the future because this just came out obviously yesterday. So I would say that the best course of action is just find out what is your current plan. Find out what you can do, because this is a debt and it will be owed and they will come after you just like any other debtor, and put exactly where you're at in setting up a new plan on an income-based repayment, which is the best course of action here, I think, because then they'll evaluate your situation with how much you're making, what your debts are, all the items of what your rent is, what you're trying to do. And if you're trying to purchase a home, and you want a home that's 6, 7, 800,000, and you currently rent for $3,000 a month, put that in there. When you're qualifying for this, you want to send them saying, look what I'm going to do because of the economy in the area I live in. I'm not going to be able to afford $800 in monthly student debt or whatever that may be. They will look at that and go, okay, yes, we'll accept it. Or maybe they come back and counter and say, no, it's going to be $300 a month, which is still better than paying $800. So just communicate is what I'll say. That's the key here.
Yep, I agree. I think that plays a huge part into all of it. One of the things you said, now I can't think of it.
Sorry.
It'll come back to me. I was like, it was there. It was there a second ago, but now it's gone. Okay, anything else you can think of to share?
No, that's a ton of information already. So yeah, reach out to us if you have questions. I'd love to communicate, find out. So put comments in the put comments below and let us know what you're finding out. If you find out information as you guys are looking into this, let us know so that we can repeat it, maybe go live again next week or in a few weeks or a month, and let people know what's going on out here so that people can kind of attack it early.
I love that. And I do remember what I was going to say
Yeah.
was something we talked about yesterday was that in most collection, they can't garnish your wages without a court order going through everything. In this case, because it's a government entity, they don't have to do that. So they're going to have access to all of your stuff right away. And we don't know how quickly that's going to happen. We don't know how long you're going to have to set up a payment plan or any of that. So it's just time is of the essence in this. It's not a scare tactic, but I definitely want you guys to be ahead of it because I know a lot of people have student loan debt, and that's a whole nother tangent I could go on about education, but we're not going to do that today.
Right
So,
here.
so let's just focus on building wealth in real estate and what that looks like.
The
But
only timeline we have when you go online and look at this and you kind of look around, it says right here that they will start collecting on the debt as early as later this summer.
okay.
So that's a few months, I would say, for them to get organized and get everything going. I'm sure they've been working on this if they
But
released it.
what does summer mean, right? So summer could
Yeah,
be June, summer could be
could be
July. Like,
August.
who knows what summer means to the government?
Agreed.
So just make sure that's some very vague discomfort. So, okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. So the draft was a couple weekends
Yes,
ago. What are you most excited from the draft for the
we
Seahawks?
don't have enough time on this call or in this
Give me
live.
one thing, one thing.
One thing, wow. Just how well, and I'll wrap it up in just how well the organization and the new coach did in picking the best players that would immediately help our team. And then also with the quarterback in the third round, Milrow, I do feel that it could work amazing based on his skill set as long as he was a little more accurate. So the building of the organization from today.
Oh, I lost you. Nope, you're muted. Dang call. Okay, well, anyways, have a good one. You got out of that question. That was that was a good point. We ran out of time, but I hope you guys have a good day and keep watching these for next week. And if you have any questions, please direct message them to Ben or I, and we can answer them next on the live. Talk to you later.